Here is today's featured headline in space. Satellite manufacturer Apex has raised $200 million, vaulting the company's valuation to more than $1 billion. Today is September 12th, 2025, and you're listening to Space News First Up. Here are today's other top headlines. Cailabs, a French company that builds optical ground stations to enable laser communications with satellites, has raised 57 million euros, $67 million. Firefly Aerospace is pitching its rockets and orbital platforms for the Pentagon's Golden Dome Missile Defense Initiative. And mobile edge computing specialist Armada and Sophia Space are working together to establish integrated, scalable compute infrastructure extending from Earth to space.
First Up is produced by Space News, the industry standard for professional space journalism. Visit spacenews.com for breaking news, policy updates, and original analysis.
We begin today with news that satellite manufacturer Apex has raised $200 million, vaulting the company's valuation to more than $1 billion. The company announced Friday a Series D round led by venture capital firm Interlagos. The funding will allow the company to scale up production of its lines of satellites and bring more component manufacturing in-house. That includes leasing a second facility adjacent to its existing Los Angeles factory to increase satellite production rates by 50%. Apex is also acquiring the Hall effect thruster technology from satellite propulsion company Phase 4. Kylabs, a French company that builds optical ground stations to enable laser communications with satellites, has raised 57 million euros, $67 million. The new funding, announced Friday, comes from the European Investment Bank and several other government and private funds. Kylabs plans to use the funding to scale up production of its optical ground stations, with a goal of producing 50 such stations a year by 2027. The funds will also support international expansion and work on new capabilities, such as ground stations that can support laser communications with satellites in medium and geostationary Earth orbits. Firefly Aerospace is pitching its rockets and orbital platforms for the Pentagon's Golden Dome Missile Defense Initiative. Firefly CEO Jason Kim said at the Global Aerospace Summit Thursday that the company's Alpha small launch vehicle could launch missile defense test targets, while its Elytra maneuverable spacecraft platform could serve as a host for space-based interceptors. Firefly's pitch underscores how commercial space companies are maneuvering to secure a foothold in what could become one of the largest U.S. defense programs. Mobile edge computing specialist Armada and Sophia Space are working together to establish integrated, scalable compute infrastructure extending from Earth to space. The companies announced Thursday a partnership to create a seamless edge computing network, connecting terrestrial and space nodes. Sophia Space announced a pre-seed funding round in May as part of plans to establish orbital data centers to support geospatial intelligence applications. Armada creates mobile terrestrial data centers that can be deployed in remote locations with satellite connectivity.
Discover your next mission in the space industry with the Space News Job Exchange. Visit jobs.spacenews.com to find top aerospace roles and connect with leading employers. And for employers, use discount code JOBEX for 15% off your next purchase.
In other news, NASA Spaceflight.com reports that Russia launched a Progress cargo spacecraft Thursday. A Soyuz 2.1A rocket lifted off from the Baikonur Cosmodrome at 11:54 a.m. Eastern, putting the Progress MS-32 spacecraft into orbit. The spacecraft, known as Progress 93 by NASA, will dock with the International Space Station's Russian segment Saturday at 1:27 p.m. Eastern, delivering about 3 tons of food, fuel, and other supplies for the station. Spaceflight now reports that it took 4 tries, but a Falcon 9 finally launched an Indonesian communications satellite Thursday night. The Falcon 9 lifted off from Cape Canaveral, Florida, at 9:56 p.m. Eastern. It placed the Nusantara Lima satellite into a geostationary transfer orbit about a half hour later. The launch was originally scheduled for Monday but scrubbed because of weather, which also postponed a Tuesday launch attempt. SpaceX called off a Wednesday launch for undisclosed reasons. Nusantara Lima, a Boeing 702 MP spacecraft, will be used by Indonesian operator PSN to provide broadband services from 113 degrees east in GEO.
Share your company's news with the entire space industry through Stellar Dispatch, the press release service from Space News. Learn more and use discount code SD2106 for 15% off when you submit yours at spacenews.com/stellardispatch.
Astroscale will launch a satellite inspection mission on an Indian rocket. The Japanese company announced Thursday it signed an agreement with New Space India Limited for the launch of its ISSAJ-1 mission on a PSLV rocket in the spring of 2027. ISSAJ-1, or In Situ, Space Situational Awareness. Japan 1 is a spacecraft funded by the Japanese government to test technologies to safely approach and inspect other objects in orbit by approaching two large debris objects in low Earth orbit. The contract is the first time a Japanese organization has procured a dedicated PSLV launch. SES is the latest satellite operator to roll out a rebranding. The company announced Friday a bold new brand that includes a new logo and color scheme as well as a corporate tagline of Solve, Empower, Soar. SES, which recently completed its acquisition of Intelsat, said the branding is part of efforts to show that the company can provide complete space solutions beyond satellite connectivity. SES said the rebranding is a move rarely seen in the satellite industry, but it comes just over a week after another major satellite operator, Eutelsat, unveiled a new branding that included changing its name from Eutelsat Group and a new color scheme.